Hello. Alright, I'm coming a day later than I expected. And also a little bit later today than I planned on. But we're here, we're gonna stitch day 3 of our Edelweiss Stitch-a-Long. See. As you can see, I'm still not quite done with days 1 and 2. It's okay if you're not either. Today we're going to need our green thread. Hi, Sarah. Scissors and our needle and then our embroidery. Okay. So today we're going to be using our green to stitch the leaves on the side. I talked about in a previous video, but my leaves look different than the leaves that were in the pattern that ended up on Etsy. I did change the design a little bit, and I had already traced mine, so that's why. But we're gonna use the same stitches, so you'll see that done the same way. So we're gonna use a stem stitch today, and then a fishbone or herringbone, can't remember what that one's called. I think it's a fishbone stitch for the leaves. So pull out some thread from the green I chose. Let's see. Oop, knotted it all up. Yeah, I talked about in my post a little bit today on Instagram, if that's where you're watching this video. Just been feeling a little uninspired this week, so that's why I haven't caught up on finishing all my stitching on this piece yet. I don't know if it's just like a little bit burnout or what it is. Okay, there's my one thread. But yeah, I just haven't had that motivation like I usually do to work on my pieces. So I've been doing a little bit here and there, but not too much. And so if you're in that same position, or maybe you just haven't had time, or you're not caught up to where we are, no big deal. Neither am I. I know it'll get done. I know my inspiration will come back. I've just been trying to honor the way that I'm feeling about it this week, and not force myself to work on anything that I'm not feeling, because I don't want to end up disliking what I'm making. And I know that if I make myself work on it when I am not really feeling it, then I'll end up disliking it. So we're going to start with the stem stitch, and I'm going to use the stem stitch to stitch this whole long length here. When you're looking at it on your pattern, you won't have this floral bit in the middle to interrupt it, so I'm going to stop when I get there and then pick up on the other side. But if you're following the pattern, you're just going to do one continuous stem stitch there. So to do the stem stitch, I'm going to bring my needle up at the end of the line there, pull it all the way through. I'm going to go down a stitch length away, but I'm not going to pull it all the way through. So I'm going to leave a little bit of this loop. Close the door, thank you. Hi. Close the door, thank you. Sorry, getting interrupted by my nephew. So I left that loop up there. And I'm going to bring my needle up halfway between the two points of my thread there. So the point where I came up and the point where I went down, my needle's coming up halfway there. And then I'm going to pull it to pull that loop all the way tight. Okay. Now I'm going to go down a stitch length away from here, from where my needle came up. So about a half stitch length away from this part of my green thread. Okay. I'm going to go just about that far. And I'm going to keep that loop again. So I'm going to pull it, but make sure I have this loop up here. And then I'm going to put my needle up right by that other part of the green thread. Okay. So it's coming up through that same hole that I went down previously. Pull that. And you can see as you do it, it makes it look a little bit twisted. But it gives a really nice texture for doing stems. Hence the name stem stitch. It's one of my favorite stitches to do. So I'm just going a half stitch length away, pulling it through but leaving a loop, and then coming back up in that same hole. Here. So we're going to continue on like that. Yeah, so this video was meant to be, this was the part I was meant to do yesterday, Friday. I'm doing coming to you on Saturday. Yesterday ended up just being really busy, and I was really tired last night at the time that I was going to come on and do the video, and then, like I mentioned before, I've just been feeling kind of uninspired, kind of burnt out, and I just didn't want to force anything, so I decided to just take last night off, let myself get some rest. We had several things that we did yesterday. Yeah, and I appreciate you being understanding of that, and hopefully it gave, if you were behind, it gave you time to catch up on the stitch along. Alright, so if you're at the same point as me, you're just going to keep on stitching. I've got this extra bit I added here, so I'm just going to jump ahead and start that back over again. One thing I did get to do yesterday was go visit a friend and her baby, which was really nice. I brought my nephew with me to meet the baby too. And it was nice to be around somebody else who has a kid, understands what it's like. It's just so great with my nephew. So, although I was really tired at the end of it, it wasn't all just like chores and errands that we had to do yesterday. There was fun in the day too. I was just feeling worn out by the time we got home, so yeah. This morning we went to the zoo. They're doing a Valentine's event, where they're giving the animals different like enrichments themed around Valentine's Day, which was pretty cute. We got to see the tiger got a heart-shaped meatsicle, but it's pretty fun to watch the animals interact with like things that are a little bit different from what they get. It just makes it a little bit more special. We go to the zoo a lot, so it was cool to be there and see them doing a little bit of different stuff today. I think my favorite that we saw at the zoo today was we saw a little like teenaged beaver. I didn't know that our zoo had beavers, and I guess they're not like in a display, I don't know if that's the right word, but they are part of like a stage show that they do, and we've never watched the stage show before. We only caught part of it today, but it was really cute to see the little beaver. I've never seen at the zoo before. Another thing that we don't usually see is the penguins were actually all swimming. Usually when we go, they're just standing around on the rocks. Today they spent the time actually swimming around, so it was kind of fun to see too. Alright, so I'm at the end of my row of stem stitch. To finish it off, I'm just going to go to the end and tuck my needle down that same hole. Pull it through. There. And there's our finished stem. I can go do that on this same side. I'm going to do the stem stitch all the way up, or the opposite side, I mean. The same thing, opposite side. I'm going to do the stem stitch all the way up here. Right. But for right now, I'm going to show how I do the fishbone or herringbone stitch for my leaves. So that'll be the same stitch you do for all of your leaves as well. I like this stitch for leaves because I like the kind of pattern that it makes. I don't know if pattern's the right word I'm looking for. The texture of it. I like that it gives it the leaves the line in the middle, like leaves have. So that's my favorite kind of stitch to use for leaves. And it's not too difficult to learn. So I'm going to come up at the tip of a leaf, the tip that's away from the stem we just made, not down by the stem. Right? And then I'm going to go back down through the thread about halfway down my leaf. Your leaves might be wider or longer than mine. You're going to use the same stitching strategy though. So you're going to come up at that tip and then go down about halfway between the top and the bottom of the leaf. And then I'm going to come up just to the left of the stitch at the top. Pull my needle through, and I'm going to come down under and slightly to the right of that bottom stitch where we went about halfway down. So I have a little bit of a diagonal line there. Then I'm going to go to the right of the very first stitch we made. Pull my needle all the way through, and then I'm going to come down a little to the left and under that bottom stitch. Okay, so you're kind of making a series of like crisscrossed stitches. So I'm going to go to the left again and come down on the right and slightly under, and then come up on the right and go down the left and slightly under. I don't know if you can kind of tell in there, like the texture that's giving the leaf. That's what I like about this stitch. I've also used just like the straight stitches sometimes to make a leaf, or fly stitches, but this is my favorite way. So you just alternate which side I'm coming up on, and then going down the opposite side and slightly under. I'm going to keep doing that until the leaf is filled in. If you are experienced with embroidery and you are following along with this stitch-along, I'd love to know your favorite way to stitch leaves. I feel like it varies so much, and some people have really beautiful things that they do when they stitch leaves. I'd love to know more about what you like to do to stitch your leaves. I feel like I've tried maybe like 4 or 5 different ways to make leaves. This is the one I always tend to fall back on because I do like that you get that line in the middle. It's a lot more pronounced when your leaves are larger too. Yeah, which I just like the way that looks. Alright. My leaf is almost meeting the stem. There we go. Just a few more and my first leaf will be complete. I'm only going to do the one, oops, sorry. I'm only going to do the one leaf on the video because I'm going to use the same stitches for all of the leaves on both stems on either side of the words. So if you have any questions about how to do this stitch, feel free to send a DM or leave a comment asking a question. The nice thing after this saves too is that you'll be able to go back and watch it again if there's a part that's a little confusing, or you just need a little bit of a reminder on how to do it. So now that my leaf has touched the stem, that's where I'm going to end that leaf. So then I'll come to the leaf on this side. I'll go up at the tip away from the stem again. And then about halfway between the tip and the stem is where I'll go down. And then I'll continue that pattern. I come up on the left, and then the right, left, right, until I create that whole leaf. Right? Remember, if you are stitching along with me, I'd love to see what you're making. Please tag me in it. It would make me so happy to see how yours is looking so far. Right? Tomorrow I'll be on again, and we will stitch the Edelweiss flowers. That'll be the last thing that we're going to learn. So we're going to learn a satin stitch tomorrow to fill in the flowers. We'll need our yellow thread for the middles, white for the petals, and then we'll use this green again for the stems and leaves on the flowers. All right, see you tomorrow.